one that is remembered. Recently, as I was working, I picked up an accordion file that belonged to a coworker. And as I opened that accordion file, this smell arose from this file. And I immediately was taken back to when I was 4 years old. That file smelled like the National Guard Armory in Haines City, Florida. Has that ever happened to you where a smell or a sound would trigger a memory? Well, this happened to me that day. This particular smell created such a vivid picture of me of this armory. And this one particular day, my father took me and my sister, who was 6 years old, to the National Guard Armory with him. And as I walked up to the building, I remember seeing it as this huge red brick building. It looked like a fortress to me. And remember, I'm 4 years old. Well, with Daddy, you never dawdled, so trying to keep up with him was a little bit hard at that time. As we walked into the building, that smell hit me. There were redwood floors, on very dark redwood floors, and the sound as I took my steps echoed throughout that building. Daddy walked me down this one hallway, and then he walked he and my sister down this other hallway, and then he deposited us into this room. And this room looked huge to me. And in it, there was a big desk that probably a teacher sat at of some sort, and other small desks where probably students of some sort, and a blackboard with chalk. But the most wonderful thing in this room was the chair that was sitting at the teacher's desk. This chair had wheels, and it would move every which way. So my sister and I, being 6 and 4, you can guess what we did. We got in the chair, and my sister would spin me around and round and round, and then I would spin her around and round, and it felt like a merry-go-round on steroids. And so it was great. But then my sister got the idea of, okay, we're going to use the wheels too. And she took the chair and she pushed it into this hallway. She says, okay, Patty, climb up in there. And I lifted up my little legs, and she says, okay, here we go. And she pushed me with every bit of energy that she had in down this long hallway. And I closed my eyes and I flung my arms back, and the wind was hitting me in the face, and I felt like I was flying. It was wonderful. Now remember I said that there are wooden floors in the building and how noise would echo? After a few times of my sister and I taking turns, my father appeared, my daddy, appeared at the end of the hallway with his hands on his hips, and he was very stern looking, but yet there was little crooks of a smile on his face. And all he said to us was, okay, put the chair back, it's time to go. So we did, and I remember leaving the National Guard Armory, skipping down the hall with my father. Another smell that always carries me back, again, to when I was 4 years old. A lot happened when I was 4. Is the smell of wax paper. I know, strange, right? But wax paper has a distinct smell to me. And where it takes me is when I was 4 years old, my mother would always pack my father's lunch. And at that time, they didn't use saran wrap, and they didn't use these eco-friendly containers or anything like that. They wrapped all the food in wax paper. So Mom would pack Dad's lunchbox, which was, it was rectangular inside, and it had the oval top where a thermos would fit inside. So she would pack his lunch. Now every day when it was time for him to come home, generally I was outside playing. Not all the time, but every now and then, Daddy would walk up and he'd hand me his lunchbox. He'd say, here, there's something for you. Something for me. I was so excited. So trembling, as a little 4-year-old would do. I'm unlatching the latches on the lunchbox, almost as if it was a treasure chest. And I'd open it up, and that smell of wax paper would hit me. And I would reach inside, and I would open up. It could be a part of a sandwich that he had left over, kind of like what Clint was trying to give, or Adam was trying to give Clint today. Or it could be a bit of cake, some kind of morsel that he had left for me. So that was really special to me. Another memory, and they seem to be triggered by smell for some reason. The other morning it was cold and it was wet outside, and it was the smell of wet leaves in combination with the cold. And I remember this took me immediately back again, age of 4, and I was going hunting with my daddy. Now this was a big deal because it was the first time. And going with hunting with Dad was not for sport. When I got older, I realized this. It wasn't for sport. It was more for out of need. We needed meat on the table. So we went hunting for squirrels and rabbits. I remember it being very cold, and I remember Mom putting me in this orange jacket and zipping it up and wrapping a scarf around my neck and keeping me warm, or trying to anyway. It was cold, and the air was thick with fog. And even though I was so cold, I wouldn't mention it at all to Daddy because I didn't want anything to keep me from going with him today. So I climbed up into the seat next to him in the truck, and I sat there. And at that time, seatbelts were not required. So as he cranked the truck up, I just kind of started scooting a little closer to him to try to remain warm. We drove for a little while, and then we got to the spot where he wanted to go hunting. And he said, "Come on." So we jumped out of the truck, and I followed him into the woods. And I remember the wind rustling the leaves on the bushes. And I remember the sound that my feet made as I was walking through those wet leaves, and an occasional twig snapping under the weight of my foot. And then Daddy said to me, "Now, Patty, you've got to be very, very quiet." He says, "And I want you to stay right here." So I did. And I remember it being cold and me standing there holding and clasping my hands trying to stay warm as I watched Daddy walk off into an area that I couldn't see. And then I hear gunshots. And I don't know how long I waited there or how many rabbits or squirrels we got that day. But I do remember Daddy coming back, and the first time of me seeing him, and he's got this huge smile on his face because I hadn't moved a muscle. I stayed exactly where he told me to stand. We loaded up the truck and went home for the day. It was a good day. I don't have a lot of memories of my dad because he passed when I was 14. But most of the ones that I do have are really good ones. So every now and then when that smell or that sound triggers a memory, I think of Daddy and I savor it for the next time. Thank you.